Hello, everyone. This is Ryan. And I realized that as we gotten some feedback, I've realized that I might have been too fast in my lesson teaching. And a lot of you have asked for just kind of basic tutorial on how to even start up the website and then start to make some changes. So I just wanted to make a short video on going through that and hopefully help you guys make some progress on your personal sites and understand React a little better. This is my first time teaching, so I'm open to any feedback. I'm learning how to become a better instructor, and this is one of the ways that I'm going to do it. Okay, first of all, like I told you guys, I'm just starting from my desktop from scratch. I'm going to go through the exact same process with you guys. So right now I'm on my desktop. I'm going to make a new folder. Let's just call it, we're just going to call it example page. Okay. So this folder, I just told you guys to make this just because we're going to have this folder, and then inside this folder is going to be our actual project folder. So we're going to see this more when I open up Visual Studio Code. So I'm just going to quit whatever I had and then open up a new window. Okay. So we have Visual Studio Code open, and then I'm going to go ahead and go to my desktop, and then we see example page should be an empty folder, which is perfect. I'm going to go ahead and open that. Now, as we can see, I'm just going to go full screen. I am in my example page folder. You can see this because we just have this drop-down menu right here. You know you're in example page. So just think of it right now, Visual Studio Code in the terminal. So like I was saying, the terminal, you go to the bottom left, we see these couple zeros right here. You can click on it, and then you can go to terminal right here. So you see how it says example page. So because it says example page right there, it might not say it on all your devices, but as long as you've opened your project folder that you made on your desktop, then your terminal will think that it's in example page. Now we actually have to make our project folder, which is made by using the npx create react app. So I'm going to go ahead and do npx create react app, and then I'm just going to call this actual project because this is where all of the actual code for our project is going to be located. I just wanted you to make a folder just because otherwise you'd have to open your whole desktop in Visual Studio Code and it just gets really unorganized. So it's nice to just have a folder that just holds your project folder. So when I run npx create react app actual project, it's going to make a folder inside of my example page folder that we just created. Okay, so I'll go ahead and run this. Okay, so now that this project folder is made, if we see in the top left, we have our normal example page, which is the drop-down menu, which is the folder that we made on our desktop. And then inside of it, we have another folder called actual project. Now, this is what npx create react app just made, and this is our actual project folder. Okay, but still, our terminal thinks that is in the example page folder. So if I use this command ls, and keep in mind that right now I'm doing this in the Z shell terminal, and you can actually make a new terminal even if you're on Windows. You can do it in Z shell or Bash. It doesn't matter which one. It's a little bit different on the Windows one, so I'd recommend using either the Z shell or the Bash. And I'll just make a new example right here. If you just see this plus, there's a little drop down right next to it, and you can choose which one you want to do. So I'll do Z shell, and then it opens up a new Z shell. So I'm just going to get rid of that. I just wanted to show you guys how to do it. But we are in our example page folder. So we can use the ls command in the terminal to list all of the folders and files that we have inside of the current folder that we're in. So I press ls and we should just see actual project because that's the only one that's in our folder right now. We'll be going over this more in class, but I just wanted to give a brief explanation. So we ls, there's an actual project, which is just the only folder / file that we have in this exact example page folder. Okay, so now we're going to change into the actual project folder. So we can do that by using cd actual project. You don't need the backslash, it just automatically adds it if you use the tab to auto-complete it. So we're going to change directory or change folder into our actual project. Okay, so now the terminal knows that we are in our actual project folder. We are in this folder. Now this, if you want to start the page, this is where you're going to use npm start, as it says right here. And this will actually start our page. If I run npm start, okay. Just taking a second to load. This is our example from yesterday. Okay, perfect. So this is the example create React app code that they give you. So this is just all of the code that we have in our app.js. All right. So like I said yesterday, when we want to start our basic site, we are just going to pretty much just get rid of everything that we have in here, as this is just the default code they give you and you don't need it, along with the app.css. So that's what I'm going to do first. So I'm going to get rid of this. We can keep the app container just because it's good to have a container, or the app div because it's good to have a div that holds our entire page. But then in the CSS, I'm just going to get rid of everything right here. Okay. So I'll just do a bit of the personal site just to kind of give you guys an example. So first of all, I'm thinking of having a little box that holds my picture, my name, and a little description about myself. So we will call this, I don't know, intro, or intro container. That sounds good. Okay, so this is going to be the div that holds our description. And it would actually be an even better idea if I want to hold something next to it to include it in an even bigger div to hold the entire row. You know what? I'm actually going to pull up a little drawing that I made just to show you guys the kind of look that I'm going for. So we'll see that. Okay. All right. So this is just a very simple drawing that I made. This is kind of how I'm gonna make my personal site. It's just gonna be having my name, along with this circle is the picture, a short description right here, and then on the right side I'll put a couple links, and then below it I'll have a little about me section, and then to the right of that I'm gonna have my experience, maybe just a couple bullet points just to show you guys an example. Okay, so first of all I'm gonna take care of this box right here, this box. And since it has a box next to it, we want to have all of this box in one div because we just want to have a row that's one div and then have two separate divs inside of it to separate the left side, this one, and the right side. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to my code, and we can see that we can have our first row. So then I'll just call this first row. And then we can go ahead and copy paste or cut and paste and put this inside. And also you'll see the kind of style that I'm trying to go in. So if we have divs or containers inside of other containers, it's good to use this nested notation. So if I have a div, and then I want to put, so this is our app divs. This is the biggest one. Of course, the first row is going to be inside of that app. So that's going to be on the next column over. So we can we can go to the next column over by doing return. And then that just pretty much puts it in the next row. Yeah, so this is the best type of syntax to have. You want to have containers that are on the same level, all in the same corresponding row. So we have our intro container, and then we'll have our links container. And these two are just going to be next to each other. However, they're going to have content inside of them. So the content that goes inside is just going to be like in of the intro container is going to be in here. All right. And then the content that goes inside of the links container is going to be like this. So we have our first row, and then inside of our first row, we're going to have our intro container and our links container. Keep in mind, I haven't done any CSS yet. I'm just kind of breaking down how the HTML code will be, and then we can add the CSS to it as we go along. So first of all, in our intro container, we want to have our image. So because of that, we're going to need to have something in the images folder, or just have an image to take in our actual project. So I'm going to go and add a little image of myself. Let's see. All right, so I'll just take any of these, throw it in here. Okay, now it's in our folder, and we can see that it popped up right here at the bottom. Now, this is not actually inside our project folder yet, so this is inside our example page folder. So you can go ahead, if you want to move files around, I can just take this and drag it. I'm just going to drag it into source, or actually we can drag it into, let's see. Yeah, we can drag it into public right here. Yeah, good. Okay. All right, so now we want to add our image first. So remember the syntax for image is image, and then source equals, and then we can just have a path. So I believe how the path works in React is that it looks in this public folder first. I'm not exactly sure. So let me just check on that. So actually, I'm going to change the name of this just because it's kind of tricky. When it has a space, I'm just going to do self image. Okay. So I'm just looking at this self image right here. Let me just make sure that this works. I might have to just do something a little different, but we will figure it out. And then alt equals self or personal. Okay, so remember the alt is what we will see if this doesn't show up, which is definitely a likelihood. And so if we go back to our website, oh, what happened here? Oh, okay, it did work. However, the you can see the photo here is a little bit too big. So we're gonna have to do some CSS in order to shrink that down. So I will add a class name to this, and this can be our personal photo. Okay, yeah. So in React, basically the source of where you're getting it from, it always starts looking in the public folder. So if you just have your images held in the public folder, then you can just type in the name of the image that you see here, and it'll be able to pull up that image when you're actually coding it. Okay. So now we can go into our CSS, and we can see that I named this personal photo. All right. So this personal photo, so remember it's dot personal photo because it is a class. And then we can just say I want the width to be 200 pixels. Okay. Now, since the width is 200 pixels, it's extremely shrunk down, which is what we wanted. Uh, and then when you originally do, if you just say a width, it keeps its aspect ratio, so it doesn't just shrink it to a super tiny width and keep its length. It actually keeps the length in the same ratio as the width is. Okay. Now I've realized it's probably a good idea to take care of the container CSS first. So we will go ahead and do that. So with our first row, oops, so dot first row, keep in mind, this first row is going to be the black box that I drew here, which is just the container that holds our first row. And then we can just say the height of it is 500 pixels, which if we go check now, our first row we can see is 500 pixels. Yeah. So then now I want to say the display is flex, because if we remember from yesterday, the flex display displays the divs inside it from left to right. And then obviously we want to have two divs inside of it, one on the left, one on the right. And the one inside of it is going to be intro container. So I want this intro container to have a light gray background. So if we go back into our app.css, we can do .intro container. And then I can say, I want this to fill up 75% of the width of its parent container, which is the first row, but the first row contains the whole screen. So it's going to be 75% of the screen. And I want the background color to be light gray. Perfect. So now we see here that our intro container is just going to be 75% of the screen. It's going to have a light gray background. All right. Now, we also have to make our links container. So then, oh, I just realized I spelled this wrong. That probably would have pissed me off later. But our links container is just, let's just say it's also going to have a light gray background. But we can maybe make it have a border or something like that. Or I guess these both can have a margin. We'll say margin right equals 2 pixels. All right. And then we can say our links container is width of 25%, and it has a margin left of 2 pixels. So now we go back, and then we can see background color, light gray. Okay, now we can see we have two separate containers. One is for our links, one is for my personal photo. And I'm not going to do anything crazy with the CSS. Like you guys can figure this out by using the web. I use ChatGPT a lot for my CSS because it really just kind of tells you exactly what you want to do, or it tells you what you can use to do exactly what you want to do. But yeah, so we'll just be going over some basic examples right here. So then I want to have my name. So our name is going to be under our personal photo. So we don't want our intro container to have a flex styling. We just want to have the basic styling where it goes image is at the top, and then our name under it, and then the description under it. So I'm going to say my name should have an H2 just because I don't want it to be too big of text. So I'm going to put Ryan Carney, and then we can see right under it is Ryan Carney. And let's say I want to have a border around the entirety of the HTML document. So I'm going to go into app.css, and then we can just say this. Or if I want to have a little bit of padding inside my HTML document. So we can go HTML body, and then just say margin pixels. Then we can see here, this just creates a little bit of room. I actually didn't want to do that. Or we can keep that, but I really just want to keep a padding in my in my containers. So like I don't want my image all the way at the top left. I want it a little bit off the left, and then I don't want my name all the way pushed to the left of the box. So we can add some padding, which will basically say, here's our container, and then we want all the content inside of it to just start a little bit inside. So if we go into our intro container, I'm going to say I want some padding. So then I'm just going to do, let's say, 4 pixels of padding. Now, if we see our image is slightly off the edge and our text is slightly off the edge, I'm going to do a bit more just to show it a little bit more drastically. Okay, yeah. So now we see my name is right here, and then it's a little bit off the edge, and the image is also a little bit off the edge. And this is going to go around all the sides. You can also just do, let's say I only want it on the left side. I could do padding left, and then we can see now it gets rid of the padding on the top and only does padding on the left. But I like the padding on the top, so we're going to keep it. All right, now I'm going to do a brief description about myself. So we go back into my intro container, and we see we have our image right here. and then my name, and then we'll just do a paragraph because we don't need it in the big bold text. And I'm going to say upcoming fourth year student at or computer science student at UCLA. All right. So here's our little description. So we have our image, our name, and then a little bit of a description. All right, so that is good for my intro container. No, it's not the prettiest. It's not the goal right now. I just want to show you guys some of the basics. You don't have to have yours perfect either. Um, and then now we're going to go over to our links container. So I want at the top of my links container to be a little title that says my links. So I like the size of the H2 right here. So I'm going to use that for my links. Okay, and now we see that the my links is all the way to the left. We're gonna have to do something about this. So we're gonna add some CSS because I want it to be centered. And then we can just say our class name is my links, or I'll just say links header. That sounds good. Okay. Let me go back to our CSS. And I kind of like to organize uh, my CSS a bit. You can also add comments by doing command and then backslash, or control and then backslash if you're on Windows. So I'm just going to comment and say CSS for first row. And then we can do command backslash and then or control backslash. And then we can say CSS for. And keep in mind, these are kind of redundant comments, but it is a good idea to comment on your code. But then we'll just say the CSS for links container right side of first row. Just a good idea to have some comments. Now inside that links container, we have a new class called links. What was it called? Links header. Okay, so I want this to be centered in the middle. This is the only thing I want to be actually centered. Let's just say for this example, I'll see how it looks after. If we want our links header, actually, I want this entire thing to be centered. So we can go, I believe it's just text align center. I could be wrong, but we'll figure it out. So then if we have our links container with the property text align center, it just means that all our text inside of it is going to be in the center. So we can see the my links just got shifted to the center. And then now I want to have a, what's it called? A link to, let's just say, my GitHub account. So I'm going to go to GitHub, and then let's just go to my account. Oops. Sorry. All right, so we have github.com/Ryan Carney. I'm going to take this, and we want to have this over here on the right side in my links. So then I'm going to go in here, and that's going to be on our links container. So it's going to be under my links. So then I'm just going to have, if we remember from yesterday, it's going to be an A href equals, and then we just put the link to our site. So this is just going to be a link. And it's going to go to GitHub, and we can just say, go to my GitHub. We can see it pops up right here, all nice. But then let's say I wanted to have it in kind of a list form, because you're probably going to have multiple links. So if I want to have a list, we can do UL or unordered list. Oops, this wasn't supposed to be like that. So a UL just basically makes an unordered list, and then every time you want a list item, it's going to be LI. So now I can put this in here. If we see, we have a little bullet point, and unfortunately it's not centered actually, so I might get rid of that. But if you wanted to make some sort of list, then you could do it this way. So I will actually get rid of that. Now, the really cool thing is that if you wanted to, I'm pretty sure you could actually put an anchor around another type of element. You don't have to just type whatever you want inside of it. So let's say I want to have a div because I want to have like a nice little rectangle that says go to my GitHub. And then I'll just say the class name is um, link container. Cool. And then inside of it, we can just have a paragraph, let's say, that says Ryan, Ryan Carney's GitHub. Nice. Okay, and now it looks exactly the same. However, if I wanted to maybe add a little styling to this, so we can go, oops, I already have links container. It's close, but I'm just gonna rock with it. So my link container, this is just gonna be for each individual link. Let's just say I want the background color to be, I don't know, what's something cool. We can just go white. Right. Okay, so that spans the whole width. So now let's say I don't really want it to span the whole width. I only want it to be a certain size. So we can go width is, let's say 50%, or you know what, we'll do 75%. Now it's centered on the left, unfortunately. But I'm pretty sure if we run this command, there we go. So this margin 0 auto pretty much centers your whatever you have inside of the container that it's in. So that's a really useful tool. And keep in mind, guys, I know I'm writing a lot of gibberish right now, but I don't expect you guys to memorize or understand everything. However, it is going to be a really useful tool to be able to learn this stuff on your own. So if you don't fully understand something, take advantage of ChatGPT to explain it to you. The thing is, like, people have a big misconception about ChatGPT because they think it's just going to do your work for you. You still have to put in some work, but ChatGPT, at least what I've seen, has been the best tool for actually explaining things. It really understands what you're asking. So if you really want to take advantage of it, I think it's a really good idea because I only learn all this stuff by either using a web, like the web, like actual website, or just asking ChatGPT, hey, how would I center my link container in the middle of its parent div? You know, things like that. You're not going to know what command to do it unless you look it up. But it really just helps you kind of get the ball rolling. And then repetition is just kind of how you remember all this stuff. Okay, so moving on. Let's say I don't really like how this looks. We can also change the height of our div. So if I want to go height is, I don't know, let's say 75 pixels as well. Okay, that makes it way too big. But then inside of our links container, we can do align items center. And I believe this should center it. Of course, it doesn't center it. You know what? I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to look something up. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So basically, if you want to use the align items, you have to have it in a flexbox format. So then we can get rid of this margin 0 auto. And basically the flexbox format allows us to have align items center, which should align it in the middle, yep, centrally, or vertically, I mean. So that align items basically just made it so, here, I'll comment this out just so we can see. Before it was like a little bit up in the box, but then if we go back and uncomment this align items, then it goes to the center of our page, or a center of our div, which is exactly what we wanted. And then also we can do justify content center, and that makes it so it goes in the middle of our box. In the middle of our what's it called? Of our div. Okay, cool. So now we have a nice button. that they can press inside of a box. And then this, unfortunately, however, isn't actually centering our div, which is all good. If we can use just the same, uh, maybe we can do a grid. We'll see how the grid looks. Oh, that is not what I wanted. It's okay. Okay, cool. All right. I want to get everything back to normal. So yeah, the text align center basically just puts our actual text in the middle, which is the my links. And then we want to have the links container or the link container centered in the middle of its parent container. So we have this margin 0 auto. And then inside of the link container is our paragraph, which is the Ryan Carney's GitHub. And then that one is done by doing the flex display and aligning its items in the center, and then just find the content in the center. And that's just going to be using those two to actually center this link in the middle. And like I said, I know it's not anything pretty, but just to make it a little prettier, we're going to add a border around it actually. So if we do border, we can do, I believe we can do like 2 pixels solid. We'll just do black for now, actually. Cool. Yeah, so now we have a border around this, looks a little bit nicer. And then we can just duplicate this if we like. So I'll show you the advantage of classes. So because this is a class, we can reuse the CSS. So now if I just literally copy paste this code and it has the same class, it'll look exactly the same, which is really nice for modularity. I want to separate these a little bit. So I'm just going to make our link container have a margin bottom of, let's say, 2 pixels. Oops. Oh, forgot my semicolon. All right. Okay, yeah. So now we have a nice little margin in this in between them. You know, I always go 2 pixels for some reason, but we got to make this bigger. We'll do 5 pixels. Okay, nice. So we have a little bit of space, and this is just how you're gonna make your links on the right side. All right, moving on. It just check back on our design. We also have an about me section and the experience section. So the about me section is gonna be a little bit simpler, but this is also all gonna be one row. So if we want another row, that means that we want to go to the div that matches up with first row, which is this one. And you can see there's a little line right here, which is nice. And then make another div with a class name called second row. All right. Now the second row is going to hold our about me section on the left, which is right here. And then the experience section, what's on the right. So I'll just have the div div with the class name about me container. And then this will be our experience container. All right. So the about me container, we want to have this, or I guess first of all, we should take care of our second row container. All right. Hello again, everyone. Sorry, my computer actually just crashed. So we are going to just pick up from where we left off. And right now I'm trying to make the code for the experience container. Or sorry, make the code for the second row of our website. So I think we were about right here. Okay, and then we can just go like this. Okay, cool. We have dot second row, and this basically just is going to be the second row of our website. So we're going to do something similar with the first. We're just going to say, we want a height of, let's just say 1,000 pixels this time. Why not? Or, right, actually, 1,000 or no, we'll go 500K. Yeah, cool. All right. And then we want our display to be flex. And I hope you guys remember, flex, it can be used for when we want to display in a row fashion. So like right here, we have the left side and the right side. Otherwise, it would go the left box and then the right box under it. So we want to use the flex to go from left to right. All right. So now we can move on to the About Me container. So in the About Me container, I want to have another header that just says About Me. And then we want to have some text that says, "Hi, I am a computer science student." I would write an About Me, but there's no point. I just want to show you guys how it works in code. So if we look back, we see, great, we had the hi, About Me, I'm a computer science student. Perfect. But we also want to have it in a container. So we're going to have our container be the About Me container. And then in order to actually style it, we're going to have About Me container. And then over here, oh, and I just wanted to mention, just in case we didn't realize, every time that you save your file, your app.js file or your app.css file, it automatically updates on your site. So if you want to see the changes that you've made, all you have to do is just save the file, and you could do it by using Command S on a Mac or Control S on a Windows device. All right. And then pretty much for the About Me container, we want to have the background color as light gray, like normal. Okay, light gray. And then just like our other containers, we have a little bit of padding in them. So in the links container, I actually didn't include it, but it already has some nice natural padding. So we don't want it all the way to the left of our container. So we want to say padding, and then we're just going to have 10 pixels of padding again, because I think that looks nice. Oops, why is it not saved? Oops, spelled it wrong again. All right. So now we should see, yep, we have a gray About Me container right here. So then I also want to say, you know what, for this second row, I think we should have a margin on the top of, we'll say 2 pixels, because that's just been the theme. So now we have a nice little margin in between the top row and then the bottom row. Well, you know what, I should do another margin on the bottom of the other one just to make it even. So we'll do margin bottom, and we will say 2 pixels there. Okay, so now we have a little line that separates the top row and the bottom row. All right. So if we go back in here, we see, you know what, I don't want it to just be this little small section on the left. I want to span for about, we'll say 65% of the container, or we'll go 60%. So in the About Me container, we can say width, we want it to be 60%. Oops. We want it to be 60% of our parent. So we go 60%. And if we look back, then now it spans 60%. All right. And then lastly, we have our experience container. So this can be like kind of like, just listing the things that you've done. So since the list, I'm actually going to use the UL just to, have it nice and listed. So then the UL, and then we're going to have an LI. And then this just basically our bullet point. And then in our bullet point, I want to have a nice little H2. So we'll have our H2, and that can just say basic training mentor. Perfect. So now we have a nice bullet point. Oh, I forgot the header. We'll actually go a little bit smaller. So we'll go H4 just to, oops. Okay. So I'm using H4 as my list item, just because I wanted it a bit smaller. And then our header text is going to be our H2. And then this is just going to say my experience. Perfect. Okay. So we see my experience. However, we realize that our little container right here has no margin or anything like that and no background. So we're going to go back to our CSS file and then open up I believe it's called experience container right here. So we're going to do dot experience. container. And then we can say the background color is our light gray as usual. And then we're going to have a margin on the left of 2 pixels. And then on this one, we'll also have a margin on the right of 2 pixels. Nice. And then we're going to say our width is that remaining 40% of the screen. Perfect. Okay. But then now we want to have a little padding as well because I don't want it right up against the edge of the box. So in the experience container, we're going to say padding, and then I'm going to add uh, 10 pixels of padding, just like we did for the other one. And we can see that it's off the edge, so it's a little bit better. Okay. Now we have basic training mentor. And then also in that list item, I just want to say, taught web development using React to some outstanding students. And then that will be the paragraph, and this is right under it. All right, so I really hope that this video helps you guys in starting your page. I understand that I went a little bit fast and went more on the theory side, but didn't actually explain it to you guys in practice. So I really hope this will help you guys out in starting your websites, and I'll be sending this out shortly.